9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Project Egg Show. Today, we have the honor of speaking with Emmy Nielson, the CEO, founder, and lead creator at Planning Playtime. She helps parents and teachers across the globe bring play back into learning. Her simple, fun, educational activities have reached hundreds of millions of people around the world, and her products are now in more than 100,000 classrooms and homes. In addition, Emmy has done some incredible things and has very impressive accolades that I could not possibly cover in this brief introduction. So without any further ado, Emmy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ben. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you carving out time to do this. It really means a lot.
No problem.
So let's jump right in.
Okay.
What is your story?
Well, that is a great question. So I kind of started on accident, really. I was doing homeschool with my daughter one summer. I had kind of had like an online shop for a little while and was doing that a little bit. It wasn't something I was passionate about, and I was kind of just a hobby and it wasn't doing much. But one summer I was during the school year, we had been doing a homeschool project, and we had done these videos that are songs for helping kids learn how their multiplication tables in a matter of minutes. I mean, it is absolute magic. You go from not knowing your multiplication tables to knowing them in a matter of minutes. It's crazy. And I was so excited, and my sister was asking about it, and our friends were asking, how did you do this? And so we sat down at the piano and plunked it out and recorded it on my phone. Terrible audio quality, but we had no idea what we were doing. And so we just tried that, and we put up some videos on YouTube. And then we just kind of left it and didn't think about it. And a couple of months later, I start getting all these messages saying, you're getting all these hits and there's all this high traffic. And I'm thinking, what is going on? I don't even know what they're talking about. And so I got into my email, and these videos had gone viral, and they were just being shared everywhere. And we were getting all these messages from all over the world, from teachers and parents asking for printables of the songs. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna make that for you. But I decided, my friend had been telling me I should charge for something, and so I thought, well, I'll just charge for this, since I've already given them the songs for free. If I'm going to go to the work to make these like printables, I'll charge just a little bit for it. I'll charge just a couple bucks. And so I put it up there, and I said, okay, guys, I did this, and it sold within the first hour. And I thought, whoa, that was crazy. And so they just kept asking me for things, and I ended up having a really serious foot injury after that from running. And I was stuck on the couch for 6 weeks, and I thought I could Netflix it, or I could make more stuff. And so I just started making more things, and people loved them, and they were using them, and they were telling me how much fun their kids were having learning. And I thought, this is what I'm going to do. And it was really, really cool. So that's how I got started.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So it all started from a couple of YouTube videos that went viral.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Did you have any idea that people were going to resonate with that so much, that it was going to have such an impact in the market?
I didn't. You know that you have a good idea sometimes, or you know that you know something, or you're good at something, and you wish that you had a way to share that with people, because you know it can make a difference and solve problems for them that you've had yourself. And so you wish that you had a way to do that. But reality is it's hard to reach people. And so the fact that it actually worked, and that people found it, and that we could then share that, was amazing. And we were just so thrilled. And what a cool thing for my kids to get to see the impact that social media can have in a positive way, that how you can take that viral, ability and really help people all over the world. So that was a really, really neat thing for them to experience, I think.
So when you first started to write out and build the little paper product, or I'm sorry, the first product.
Yeah.
When you were going through that, did you have any fear or apprehension? Like, what was going on internally at that point when you were creating that product?
Well, that very first one that I made, actually, I kind of initially said, no, I'm not going to do that, because like, I already gave you the songs on YouTube. That's good, right? And I was busy. I have 5 young kids. It was kind of a rough time in my life. In fact, it was challenging enough. We had some crazy stuff that had just happened with my little girl and her health, and I was really struggling with some post-traumatic stress from a really serious illness that she had had. And so I was having trouble sleeping at night for a few months, and I couldn't sleep. And so one morning I was awake from like 2 to 5 in the morning, and I thought, you know what, I have absolutely nothing better to do right now than go and make this for somebody. And even if not everybody needs it, and even if no one buys it, maybe it'll help somebody. And so I did it. And I think we limit ourselves on the impact that we can have by saying it's not going to work. No one's going to see it. Maybe it won't help people. Maybe they don't care. Maybe no one's listening or no one's watching. But they are. And I think you just never know how much that's going to help someone. We've had the sweetest messages from kids and from grandparents, and just unbelievable, just from that very first thing. And so looking back, I'm so glad that I did it, even though I was hesitant initially to do it.
How did you figure out how to go from, okay, I'm creating this thing, like I'm building it, to, okay, now it's sold out in the first hour? Like, what I'm asking is, that was kind of like the first foray into the business side. So how did you figure all that stuff out?
Well, I did have a very small audience, very small, on my blog. I think I had 2,000 followers at the time. And probably at least half of those were people that had followed me because I followed them, right? So not really high quality followers. So what I started using was Pinterest. Pinterest for me was a way to reach people in a more equitable way, because if you could provide an image and show them what you had, there was a chance that people would see it, particularly if you're using the right keywords, because Pinterest is essentially a search engine, right? And so I thought I had a little bit more power there than I was going to have maybe on Google or on Facebook or any of those other platforms. And so I started with Pinterest because I thought that was probably going to be my best option to really reach people.
So you had the big success on YouTube, mm-hmm. and then you put out the images of the product on Pinterest.
Yep.
And then they sold out in an hour.
So the cool thing is they're digital products, so they don't sell out. And that's what I love the most in the previous experience that I had had with my shop. And it was very small, but I didn't love having to store product. I didn't love having to ship product. And I didn't love having to guess what people were going to buy. That just wasn't for me. And so I loved the idea that it was digital so that I could just immediately deliver it to them automatically. I loved that I made it one time and that it could continue to serve people for years. So I still have people buy that product every day, and I made it 3.5 years ago. So I loved that part about it.
Wow. That's incredible. So you start getting some serious traction, and then you start making the other products, and you're like, all right, this is what I'm doing. I'm going in on it. And so how did you decide, and you talked about it a little bit, but I'm really interested in the creative side. How did you decide which things to create and how to actually create them from there?
Oh, that's a good question. I kind of tried to do a little bit of research into my market. I kind of tried to think from my experience what I knew that they would need. And I had listened to a podcast, and I have tried so many times to remember what podcast it was, and I just don't remember, but I listened to a guest talking, and she said that everything had changed when she had decided to become, I think it was, let's see, what's the word she used? It was something like just infinitely helpful. She wanted to be so helpful to her audience. And so it wasn't really about how many people will see this, or how many people can I reach, or how much money can I make on this post, or how many ads can I get in here. And it really became about, how can I just really serve my people? What would give them the most possible value, and what would really solve the problems that they're having, and make their lives easier and better. And so that's kind of, I loved that, and I thought that's what I want to do, because then I don't have to feel bad about selling anything. The more people I reach, the more people I help, right? And the more people I can make their lives better and easier and happier. And so I loved that. So I tried to create based on what I knew would make their lives easier, and what would make, planning their lessons easier, and what would make engaging the kids in learning so much more fun. And we literally get messages all the time saying that their kids are like begging them to do their math. During playtime, they're asking if they can do their math activities. And so, of course, they love it and they want more, because why wouldn't you want that as a teacher or as a parent? And so it works. We just try to take care of them, and because we can help so many people, they pay us for that value that we give them.
What's fascinating to me is that a lot of times kids have like a short attention span.
Yeah.
And I know, because I have a lot of little cousins in my family. On my dad's side of the family, I'm the oldest of 9 grandkids.
Oh, fun.
So I was like watching them grow up, and they would like jump from here to there to there to there, and like, squirrel, that whole thing.
Yeah.
So I'm really fascinated to learn, how does your methodology or your teaching style, like how does it engage the kids so much, so thoroughly, and teach them so effectively? Like what's actually going on there?
Well, it goes back to the brain, and we look at children's brains and how they capture and retain and recall information. And so what we learn is that the very most primal way of remembering something is fear. But those are only in that's like survival instinct level stuff. So you don't have to think about remembering to not touch a hot stove. It's instant recall, right? Because that's like danger. So we don't really use that when we're teaching a lot, because we don't want to teach in fear. And I'm on a call, sweetie. Can you go up to daddy? Go up to daddy and ask him, okay? This is my real life. I work from home. This is my why. I work with my kids. Do you need something? So the second one that's really, really effective is play. When you learn something in pleasure or fun, then that is extremely effective. She wants to say hello. This is my why. This is my why I do my business.
Hi there. Hello.
And this is everything that I do is around these guys, and they help me in my business and everything that I do. So, yeah, I need you to go up and find Daddy.
See, this is what I love about doing a live broadcast, is that It is so real. And there is no editing this kind of stuff. I love that. I love that. I love that.
It's kind of, if you're in my community, you just know, like my kids, this is why I do what I do. And so they come first, and occasionally they pop in and come visit me while I'm chatting. But I feel like most parents get that. That's real life, and particularly if you work from home, this is probably your why too. So it makes a lot of sense. But getting back to what we're talking about, pleasure is one of the best ways that kids remember things. And so if you can find a way to take a topic that they're supposed to learn, and you can add some element of play or some element of novelty or excitement or fun into it, then it just becomes just this really direct connection to their memory. And we build up these connections, and it's kind of like a rope. You just add string and string and string and string until it gets really, really strong and helps them remember. So we just try to add play and fun into every topic. And so addition becomes a game, subtraction becomes a game. And so they're not learning as far as they're concerned, they're playing, but they're learning at the same time. It's a very hands-on, incredibly effective method for learning, but they're being active and they're playing and they're getting their hands dirty and they're having so much fun. And it, of course, it helps way beyond the math that they're learning. They're getting all kinds of other skills at the same time, and they're learning to love learning, which makes them want to keep doing it and be excited and passionate about learning well beyond the math activity they did today.
How can we, as entrepreneurs, as people who are constantly seeking self-improvement and personal development and growing and reaching new heights, how can we take the principles of how you're helping these children learn and implement that into our own growth?
I love it. That's a great question. One of the things that I often tell some of the teachers that I work with is that if you're getting tired and if you're getting bored or you're feeling overwhelmed or something like that, right, which happens to all of us, I always try to remind them to go learn something new and just remember how fun it was, right? And when I say go learn something new, I'm not saying you have to go learn, a new how to do a messenger bot, or you have to go do, it doesn't have to be something business related. Go learn to do something fun. Go learn how to make balloon animals, whatever. Just learn how to do something and remember what that feels like and how fun that can be. And I think we're also learning a lot lately. We're talking about it in education. We're talking about it in marketing, is how to gamify it. How can you turn it into a game for yourself? How do you turn it into a game for your audience? How do you make it fun and give people incentive and take, the oppression out of it, that it's not just a job and something I have to do, and it's something that's just kind of fun and exciting, and other people are doing it with me and we're having a good time. And I think there's little tweaks that you can make that make a big difference like that.
I think that's brilliant. So instead of saying, okay, I'm going to stop learning for today, I'm going to go veg out and watch Netflix. Mm-hmm. I love what you said earlier. You could either Netflix it or you could, you could right? create. So like, instead of Netflixing it, go learn something else. So like that, it's almost like you're replacing the reward or your what's the word? Connecting the reward to learning, or learning as the reward. You're associating that with it in your brain.
Because it's fun. Our brains crave it. I read the coolest thing the other day that said boredom is a sign that your brain is craving something. And I think sometimes overwhelm is a sign that our brain needs something different, not always less. Sometimes it needs a break from what we are currently doing and needs something different. But I think when you go out and you intentionally take a break from your everyday and the things you have to do, and you just go learn something for the fun of it, it reminds you how much fun learning is. And I always come back to my business getting way more excited about the things I'm learning in my business and how to increase, the people that we're able to reach and help. I get so much more excited about that if I just have reminded myself how much fun it is to learn and how much I enjoy it. So it's really effective. Try it.
I think that's really, really helpful, because I'm always thinking of ways to maximize my effectiveness and efficiency, and like optimize my day and optimize my cognitive function. Like, for example, I've been doing a lot of tea drinking with like herbal tea with coconut oil and like really good stuff that I spent a lot of time researching. So that's really healthy for your brain, right? And like nutrient dense vegetables and so on and so forth, right? So one of the things that I really was curious about, and you've kind of answered it already, but I want to touch on it a little bit more, is after a long, hard day of working and like mental heavy lifting.
Yeah.
After that, what do you do? Like I see people all the time. They try to like decompress by going to the television, and it frustrates me so much. I'm like, there's so much more than TV, people. There's so much more, and it seems like this learning something different is the solution, right? So I guess the specific question I have is, like, when is it too much for your brain? Is there a point where there's too much for your brain?
Well, I think I kind of see our brain as a muscle, like anything, right? And so certainly you can overwhelm your brain, right? By putting, too much stress on it. But again, when I go to the gym every week, I don't work out the same muscles every day. So when I go on Monday, I overwhelm those muscles a little bit because I'm trying to strengthen them. So I push them to pretty hard, right? And then I go home and I rest for a little bit, but I come back the next day and I'm doing a different muscle group. So I think if you look at that kind of in the same way, if you're doing a lot of heavy lifting with your brain during the day for your business, it is incredibly healthy to take a break from that. And you can just kind of sit around and rest. For me, TV is kind of like a pause button. It doesn't actually really de-stress. It kind of just takes you to a different place for a little bit. And so as soon as it's off, it's kind of all back. And that's what it feels like to me. If instead I switch to doing something else, I use, maybe a different muscle group in my brain, I'm learning something different, it actually kind of invigorates me. And it makes me maybe not so tired the next day. Like my brain's actually ready to go back, instead of just saying, I'm going to just sit around for the rest of the day because I'm so tired. And we know when we work out the next day, those muscles are sore. Whereas very often, if you're moving around for the rest of the day, the next day, you're actually feeling better than if you just sat down all day. So I kind of see it in that same way. I think you should take a break from the heavy lifting, but maybe don't just not do anything with your brain. Maybe go do something else that's really pleasurable, really fun, really interesting to you, really just stimulating your brain in a very fun and happy and healthy way. And I think there's other things too, like exercise and being even able to run or use your joints or have impact on your joints. Things like that can really calm and relax you. So I mean, there's a variety of ways of things that I would do to calm my brain down in the evening, but certainly switching focus and going to learn something new just for the fun of it is one of my favorite ways to re-excite my brain, to relax it, and to be ready to go back to work the next day.
I love that. I love that so much. And I actually have been doing this a lot lately. I wake up, I work really, really hard throughout the day. And I try to focus. I've been making sure to do this more, but focus on the most important tasks, and not just like randomly work, because work will consume the time that you give it, but like really be specific about like what I want to focus on and what do I want to accomplish that day. I actually have my task list right over there. And like, you tackle the number of tasks that you can in the day, but then like similar to you, exercise is very important to me. So either I'll go and play basketball because I love basketball, or I'll take my dog for a walk. And not only does she love that option, but for both of those, I actually listen to audiobooks. And so it's like a fun way to kind of do like double up on my time, and like get more done in the same amount of time. So like, I totally agree. And it's learning about something different than what I'm focusing on all day with work. So I really think that's it's brilliant with what you said. And, like personally, I'm trying to live that. I so am. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about once you started to get some traction, like really get some traction with your business. How did you ramp things up? What were some of the biggest levers that you pulled to truly grow at an exponential rate?
Oh, that's a good question too. So there's been those moments, and I think when we look back, all of us, we can see those moments where there was something happened that was just a complete game-changing moment, right? So my first one was that about three months after I started creating these resources for teachers and parents, I realized that with just some tweaks on Pinterest and the way that I was doing images and keywording, I could get a lot more traction. And so that was a really big jump in Pinterest traffic. And then I kind of did that for about a year, and it was growing very, very quickly. And then I took Rachel Miller's Moolah course, and she teaches you how to grow your audience on Facebook. And about that same time that I was taking her course, I went to a little tiny like blogging conference. My friend talked me into going to. I'd never been to any kind of conference. She took me along with her, and I sat in this one class, and a woman talked about video editing, and it just resonated with me. And here's the funny thing, I am not a photographer, and I don't do videography, and I had no idea how to do any of this stuff. And so I thought, okay, that's really great, and I think that would work, and I'm gonna have to go home and figure that out. And so it basically was me deciding that it didn't matter that I didn't know how to do any of it. I was just gonna try, and I was gonna teach myself, and I was giving myself permission to fail as I tried things out, and I would just, keep trying until I got it right. And so I went home and I started doing that. And it took about, I'm trying to think, it took the first couple videos they were awful. Like if you go back in my history, you'll see they were terrible. They did not get almost any views, and they were bad. My husband even made fun of him, and he's really nice to me, but he just laughed. And then, like probably my third or fourth try, I was in a hotel in California. We were waiting to get into Universal Studios for the day with my kids. And I saw on Facebook, it was just going viral and going crazy. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And pretty soon we had over 300,000 views. And I was like freaking out because I have this page of, what had been like 2,000 people. Right. And about a month and a half later, I had a video that reached over 50 million people on Facebook, teaching kids how to do a math game. It was like addition, you guys, and 50 million people were watching this video about addition. So that was a big moment for me when I realized that what my audience needed, and Rachel Miller helped me find how to connect with them. And I got over my fears of, I have no clue how to do this. And I just taught myself to do it anyway, and then tried it and eventually got it right. And it didn't take too long. And pretty soon I had it, within 6 months, I had an audience of over 500,000 people.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So it really was the content that connected so strongly with the people and they shared that content.
Yeah.
That's really what kept setting off those huge surges.
Yeah, it's really about giving people what they need, right? There's a problem. They know that their kids don't always love doing math. And so I know that that's a problem for my people, and kids don't always love learning. They don't see how fun it is yet, right? And so I tried to help solve that problem for them, and I tried to make it really easy for them to see it, right? And to make it really simple and really doable. And then I tried really hard to figure out how to get that content in front of them, right? And so that combination of giving them exactly what they needed and using some really cool lessons and tools that I learned of how to help reach people, and that combination, it did amazing things.
Let's talk about connection.
Okay.
Because I feel like one of the, and you mentioned that word a little bit earlier, but I feel like in order to really solve their problems, you have to be able to connect with them and meeting the people first.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. Could be wrong, but that's what I believe.
Really
so what I'm interested in learning is your philosophy on developing a deep, meaningful, and genuine connection with another human being.
So this is a tricky one. I think this is a great question, and I feel like it's something that I'm really working on. In fact, it's one of my big goals for 2019, is to get more connected with my audience. It kind of all happened really fast, and I think that I think people related so much to what I was sharing because I was a lot like them, and I understood a lot of the challenges that they had. And so I think that made them very, very easy to relate in that way. But it grew so quickly from, that first 2,000 up to 500,000 people that it was, I was still trying to figure out how much of myself I wanted to share. And so I kind of feel like I hid behind the camera a lot. And they would see my hands in my videos, but they never saw my face. I was maybe a little more professional, and maybe a little less personable. And so that's something that I'm trying to work on now, is that the reality is that I wish I could be every one of them. Like, I want to be mom friends with all of them. Like, we just want to have a big mom party together and talk about our kids and how much we care about them and how much we want them to learn and all of that. And so now in my mind, when I'm talking to anybody, that's what I feel inside. Like, I just want to talk and share with you. I want you to tell me your story, and I want you to share the things that you've learned with me, and I want to share what I know with you, and just have a conversation and be able to support each other, because we need that in this very digital and somewhat isolated world that we live in sometimes. So I'm trying to build on that, and I'm doing that. We have a really cool Facebook group that we just started, and of course those are smaller than the page, and so you can really talk to people in there and really connect, which I have loved. So we have a really cool Facebook group for parents that are wanting to raise really smart, creative, empowered children. So that's been amazing, and we love that. And then another thing that I've been trying to start doing is doing stories, both on Instagram and Facebook, just to kind of help people see how I'm implementing what I'm talking about every day. And people are always commenting, your kids are so creative. And I say, it's just a lifestyle, and it's just how you speak and what you give them to do, and allowing them to kind of lead their learning. And it's really, really cool. So I think that's how I'm seeing it. I want to see every single person as an individual and reach them in their needs and their specific situation. And it's hard to do that with over 1 million people, but that's who I'm thinking of. So when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to you in the best way that I can. And I want you to talk back to me because I care about you. Like, every single person that I'm talking to. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of how I see it.
When do you feel most connected with somebody? Like if somebody wants to like really build a strong relationship with you, what do they need to do?
Are you referring to like online or in person?
No, like in real life.
In real life.
Yeah, not even related to business.
I just love talking to people. I love sitting down and just having a good chat, and I love talking to lots of different kinds of people, and everyone has a story. My dad used to tell us, and he would say, everyone is an expert at something. And everywhere he would go, at the hardware store, anywhere, like at sporting events, it would always amaze me when he would go to our sports things growing up, that we would start a new sport he'd never ever been to or heard of really before. And by the end of the season, he'd be an expert. And I always thought that was so interesting. And he was talking to me one day and he said, everyone's an expert at something. And he's like, and they love sharing what they know because it's like their passion, right? And they're really good at it. And they've spent so much time learning about it. And so he said, I ask questions to everyone. And I just let them teach me all these really cool things. And people love being able to share and connect in that way. And so I kind of feel the same way. I love hearing people's stories. Everyone has something that you can learn from them. Everyone has life stories. Everyone has experiences. And it's so interesting to get to hear those and connect with people and get to learn from everyone that you meet and find things that you can try to implement into your own life from what they're doing that's working for them. And from anyone that, people that typically you would not look to as examples for your life behavior, they still have things that they're doing exceptionally well at. And so I love connecting with people on that level and just seeing them for all of the cool things that they do and for what they know and for what they have to give the world. And I love talking about that. And they want to talk to me too. And so I love just chatting. I love just really getting down deep and talking and hanging out and letting our kids play at the park or whatever.
What's your greatest theory?
My greatest what?
Theory.
Theory?
Mm-hmm.
My greatest theory, that's a fun question. My greatest theory is that you can teach any child to teach themselves anything. And if you do that, they will never be outpaced by technology. They will never be at a point where they can't learn a new skill to get a new job. They can never be stopped from having the things that they really, really need to get in life because you've taught them the key to learning anything they want to know. And it doesn't mean they're going to know everything because, they don't have time for that. But anything that they decide, I want to know this, you give them the keys to be able to go teach themselves that later in life. And I'm watching it. It happened to me. That's how my whole life has been, is me teaching myself things into, this incredible opportunity that I have now. And I'm watching my daughter do it now and my kids. And so, yeah, my 14-year-old daughter is writing her 4th full-length novel right now and just won a scholarship to work with a New York Times bestselling author this summer. And I have taught her absolutely nothing about writing. She has self-taught her way into that and has done all of the research and all of the teaching on her own. And I allowed her to do that. I give her the tools. I empower her to know that she could. And she's just gone with it. And it's incredible to see. So that's my biggest theory. You can teach any child to teach themselves anything.
Well, congratulations on her winning that award and those 4 novels. That's amazing. Right? That is incredible.
I know. It's super cool. I love it. Brings her so much joy. And watching that, it doesn't have to be something I care about, but they care about it. And you watch them just develop those skills and those teach themselves to do things that they're passionate about. It's incredible to watch. It's really, really fun to see her process and see her just turning into an author. It's really, really cool.
How do you judge depth of character?
Ooh, that one's hard. I think a lot of it is gut instinct, right? I think you just kind of pay attention to how a person makes you feel about yourself. So for me, I'll give you an example. I have a dear friend who is a supermodel. Like, she's gorgeous. She's literally a model. Has a beautiful home, has these beautiful kids, and an Instagram account that's beautiful, and everything's beautiful, right? And I'm kind of more, I don't know. I feel not on that. Like, I feel very different than that. Sometimes I'm short and I'm not a model size, and I don't know, like, I can go through this whole list, right? But when I hang out with her, she makes me feel more beautiful than any other time that I'm by myself. And she just, I think that the way that other people make you feel about yourself says a lot about who they are. And so I love spending time with people that make me want to be a better person. I love spending time with people that make me feel valued. And I love spending time with people that I feel like are authentic and real. That to me is really, really important, because I can relate to that. My life is very real. There's lots of cool stuff, and there's lots of, toys on the floor. So I like reality, because a perfect person isn't really something I can aspire to, because it's, to me, not real. But people who show their challenges and who work through those and who get the better of them and who can do cool things even through all their hard stuff, that to me is admirable. That to me is something that I can look up to and that I want to emulate.
So, Amy, I want to thank you for coming on the show today and showing everything that you have, and sharing everything that you have. I really do appreciate it. And I just have a few more questions for you, then we'll wrap it on up.
Okay.
Is there anything about yourself that you think is an important part of who you are that we did not talk about today? In other words, what did I miss?
What did you miss? I just, I think I'm pretty open. I think I'm pretty real. I think that that's reality. I think, it's a matter of accepting who you are and loving who you are. And what I've really learned to do over, I feel like, the last few years is be able to accept all of my weaknesses as just things that I have to learn still, and be able to also accept the things that I'm good at as my opportunity to make a difference in the world. And so instead of seeing like I'm bad for all these reasons and I'm really, awesome because of all of these things, instead it's really about just a list of things that I still have to learn, and a list of things that I can use to really help other people. So that's kind of my view of myself that I've developed over the last couple of years, and it's very liberating, because you don't have to hold yourself down with this like weight of all the things that other people are better at than you. And it's also really encouraging because you don't have to hold yourself back from sharing your gifts with the rest of the world and being able to just help people in your very imperfect way, but doing whatever it is that you can to make a difference and help other people. So I don't know, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
What question should I be asking you? Specifically me, asking specifically you. What question should I be asking you that I just wouldn't think to ask?
Ooh, I don't know. Yeah. Are my dishes done? Nope, they're not. So you could ask me that. That's I like to have a good time. So I tend to have a lot of I like to make things fun. So not just games, like we love to joke around. We love to have a lot of fun with my teenagers. I have teenagers now. It's kind of crazy. I find that the best way to diffuse tension is to get them to laugh. And so we just do a lot of laughter at my house, and it helps us get through really hard days. So yeah, I don't know. You could ask me something funny.
Well, I'm really interested because I'm 24,
Okay.
and what I'm really interested in learning is, and maybe it is something funny, but I really want to know, what advice would you have for a 24-year-old or a 20-something who or even younger, a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
who, you've had such an incredible journey, um, and a lot of experience, and you've gained such wisdom. What advice would you want to impart?
Oh, for sure. So I think the biggest thing that I would share is that failure is awesome. Failure is something you should be doing regularly. If you're not, you need to ask yourself why. And it's because failure is the biggest sign that you are trying new things and teaching yourself new things, and that you're like pushing yourself to do something beyond what you already know. And so we shy away from failure. We don't want to show it. We don't want to feel it. We don't want to experience it. We give it this really bad, like this really bad name, like it's like a bad word to fail, right? I love it when people fail. We celebrate it at our house. Now, we don't want to do like huge, massive, like, like you tried, don't jump out of an airplane kind of failure, right? But the kind of failure where you try things and you experience things, and it's okay to shift and to try something different if you feel like that's where you need to go. And don't be afraid to fail, because failing is so important. If you're not failing, you should be. It means that you're not trying new things at a high enough rate, right? And so that's what I tell my kids. And I feel like teenagers in particular, probably young adults, I know I used to be this way. We're so afraid to fail. We're so afraid to fail publicly at anything. And I think, no, that's a really good sign. Like, keep doing it. We ask our kids sometimes at dinner, what have you done to fail today? And we want them to come up with something, like, what happened? And I share with them my failures, like, oh my gosh, this video bombed. Like, I thought it was going to do so good and it did not. And then I share next, and and this is what I'm going to try next. And they learn from that like, it's not a big deal. Like, we fail all the time. No big deal. Like, great, we did it. We tried something. Here's what I'm going to do next. And I think they learn more from that than they do from seeing mom got a video to 50 million people on Facebook. Like, that's like great, but so unachievable to them. Like, that's what they feel. And so I just share all of the failures along the way so that they know, like, I want to fail, because then maybe this will happen. Maybe this is the next step in the journey, and we just keep trying until we get there.
Amy, again, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing this time with me. It's been very special and truly an honor to get to speak to you. So thank you.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
And I also want to take a moment to really recognize you for the good that you're doing for education and for children around the world. That's something that I feel very strongly about. And it probably has a little bit something to do with my Jewish upbringing. I feel culturally we value education, and so I'm just very thankful that you're doing what you're doing, and that there are people like you who are making an impact on the world. So truly, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. I love it. It brings me a lot of joy. So thank you.
And to everybody who's watching, listening, I want to thank y'all so much for sticking with us till the end. I know your time is very valuable, so I'm grateful that you would share it with us. I love y'all very, very much. And I'll see y'all on the next episode. Amy, you want to wrap us up?
Sure. What do you want me to say?
Maybe how people could get in touch with you or find some of your stuff, and maybe some next steps or actionable things that we can do right now in order to improve our lives.
Perfect. Yes, for sure. So I think that we talked about earlier, what you should do is just think about something that you want to learn, that you have is not for business. It's not for something specific, just something that would bring you joy, and go learn it. And go do it. And you'll be really surprised, I think, at how invigorating it is to your brain, and just kind of gives you this like excitement again. And for kids, we're actually launching in about just with the beginning of summer, we're launching a summer camp for kids online, where we're going to be taking them through this process with weekly challenges where they get to use their brain and do some really cool, like, brain boosting activities all summer. That are going to lead them to investigate and and discover and create just out of their heads, not with any lists of instructions. So we're doing that this summer. They're going to get to win free prizes and really cool stuff. So we're doing that if you're interested for your children and helping them start learning how that process that I talked about of teaching them to teach themselves. We're going to be doing that this summer. So you can reach me at planningplaytime.com. And our Facebook group is Raising Smart, Creative, Self-Teaching Kids. If you want to come and join that, that's a really good place. We have an amazing conversation going on over there in that group. Yeah, so that's how you can find me. And I would just challenge you to go learn something new and enjoy it and do it for the fun of it. And it will help and push you in all the other work and the challenges that you're doing.
And when you do learn that thing, tweet or tag us in some way, shape, or form, so we know, and I will definitely give you a shout out, so that you get the recognition that you deserve for actually taking action here, because you're awesome and taking action is also awesome. So thank you so much, and I will see you on the next episode.